So hello and welcome. We are here today to speak about low carbon and resource efficiency economy. And to talk about this topic, I think we should start with the example of two cities. So I'm very pleased to welcome on stage Slađana Mijatovic, is that right? Yes. From Amsterdam City, and Sean Rosenmoos from the San Francisco Department of Environment. So maybe we can start with you, Slađana. Can you give us some example of what do your city today in terms of low carbon and resource efficiency economy, and what is your plan for the future?
Yes, we want to be the most circular city in the world. So we have a big ambition, and we want to reach that together with our citizens. So we don't think about top-down projects. Of course, you should always think about also these kind of interventions, but we are also searching in the city where the energy comes from, where are people motivated to make this transition, and how can we listen and learn from their projects and find solutions to scale up. For example, a city development area that is totally built on a circular way, but built by the citizens. So it's a bottom-up development where the stakeholders have to make a plan together how they will make a circular neighborhood.
Okay. And what about the citizen of San Francisco?
I don't really like the word efficiency. I think someone talked about it earlier today. The idea of efficiency, when we think about it, it gives us a license to just do more. You know, I mean, if you've ever seen the person who goes to McDonald's and they get a big hamburger and French fries and, a Diet Coke, right? I mean, it's just, when we talk about efficiency, it's like, we're efficient, so we can just use more. Of light bulbs or whatever it is. But anyway, so one of the things that is really huge for us in San Francisco is reducing our energy load. We want to go with renewable energy. And fortunately, in the state of California, we have something called the public goods charge. And so when you pay your electricity bill, a small percentage of that goes back to the state, and then the state doles it out to cities and the utility industry to implement energy efficiency policies and energy efficiency work. And so we do a lot of work in San Francisco with small businesses and large businesses going in and providing them with resources and technical support in order to reduce their energy consumption, so that we have a goal for 100% renewable energy on record, that's what we want to have. But of course, we need to reduce our consumption as we're looking at how are we going to purchase renewable energy. So that's a big one for us. Buildings produce about 45% of our greenhouse gas emissions in San Francisco, and I think it's probably similar to a lot of cities. So if we can work on the energy efficiency piece, that's going to be huge for us.
Okay. No, and I think it's interesting because if you think about citizens, companies, utilities, startups, I think Stéphanie GAY-TORRENTE from the Director of World Efficiency event, I think it's the audience you like to bring on your next show?
Yes, exactly. Is it the audience, but more it's the project around we would like to work, because since the Paris Agreement and with the help to the very favorable institutional context, we think that we need to work together to help cities' ambition and find the good solution adapted to their needs. So with our partner, we decided to create a meeting where cities can present projects and find the good solutions. For this, I have some very great co-partners who are working with us to develop this event, dedicated to low carbon and resource efficient economy. It's not in terms of produce more and more, but to be better, to be more efficient and do just the right thing at the right place. World Efficiency Solutions will take place in October 2017.
In Paris?
In Paris, in October, in partnership with also EXPOSITIONS and World Climate Limited, but many French partners, organizers of very impressive contents and very good ambitions for the economic markets. The HQE and French GBC is also one of our partners, the ministry and the ADEME also. We would like to gather during 3 days all the low carbon and resource efficient solutions who does exist at this moment. We were also organizers during the COP21 of the Gallery of the Innovations, and we had the very great opportunity to gather some very great startup, SMEs, and a big group with concrete solutions. And we are very convinced that it's now the moment. The difficulty is just how to work together with cities, but also sectors with sectors. Because normally they work in one activities, in a deep value chain, like in transportation, in building, or in industry. And the ambition of World Efficiency is to make emerging innovation from all these activities and present it in the same meeting, in the same platform, and maybe help also the display of this innovation with transaction and debate between decision makers to know which one is the better adapted to their context, and that we can also make them share the innovation, because some innovations just become born in a building activity, but can also be adapted to transportation and transportation for industry and everything else. So World Efficiency is very different event, and I would like also to give the floor to another panel to explain.
Partners.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So maybe we should start with Jens Nilsson from the World Climate Summit. What was your motivation to join the project with Stéphanie?
I think it's time now to mainstream the low carbon business and the efficiency business. It's very important to reach out beyond what happens at the climate negotiations to all kinds of sectors. It's very important to create the global event that can do that, and I believe that's possible together with READ Expo and the other partners representing cities and buildings and other stakeholders. And so that's the main thing, and I think the time is now to do that, so we're very pleased to do that. I also want to say that there's good background to do that, because after the 21 years it took to get the agreement in Paris, and sometimes, in some countries, 21 years is when you mature, so maybe that's just how that happened. But we're moving from policy to action, and there is a lot of action taking place. If you look at the NASCAR portal, you'll see more than 2,000 companies committed to climate action. You see Unilever, you see Philips, you see PG&E, you see many companies committing to 100% renewable energy from 2020. You also see a lot of financial actors, more than 500 big institutional investors committed to green bonds and green funds, because many of these projects we're talking about, they require trillions of dollars. So together with all the partners, we hope to be able to gather everybody in one big meeting place that will grow year on year. Thank you.
Thank you. And what about you, Roman, from ICLEI? What was your motivation to join the project? What do you want to bring in this event?
First of all, I think it's fantastic, the idea that you, on top of the Polytech, which is a very successful format that you're running, that you're now looking into maybe more of the global challenges in a more interactive way and transdisciplinary way between different actors. We at ICLEI, as a city network, we have 1,500 members worldwide, and we strongly believe that action for sustainability, for the climate, for the circular economy, what we were talking about this morning, is actually happening in cities. I mean, these are the hotspots in a way. And it is very important to bring cities and businesses together to have conversations about what the real challenges are together, and then also jointly develop solutions, not only technical solutions, but also the policy frameworks that enable them, the accounting for the social dimension that needs to be put into the picture with the citizens, also empowering them to be part of those kind of things. And I really hope that these kind of topics will be accelerated, and the work on them will be accelerated by projects such as the World Efficiency, and we're very happy to contribute that. Maybe just as a last takeaway on that, there's a sentence I like, which is we are now talking about organic food, or how our ancestors used to say food. And I'm very much hoping that we're now talking about the sustainable economy, and in the future people will just call it the economy. And I think this is really what we're trying to do and accomplish with the World Efficiency and other events, and that's the motivation for us to join that as well.
Last but not least, we hear many times the word building, so it's time to introduce Gaëtan from Administrateur from HQE France GBC. Can you present your organization and what you are going to bring to this event?
My English is not fluent enough to speak in your language, so I will explain you later. So, mais je vais le faire en français. Donc, pour l'association HQE France GBC, World Efficiency, c'est une extraordinaire opportunité de réunir le mouvement international HQE à l'occasion de cet événement et de faire en quelque sorte un événement dans l'événement. Aujourd'hui, l'association HQE, elle est présente dans 25-30 pays. Pendant la COP22 à Marrakech, on a eu le plaisir de remettre la certification HQE, par exemple, à Bank of Africa. On voit qu'on se développe vraiment très fortement, et réunir tous les acteurs du développement durable, du combat pour le bâtiment bas carbone, entre autres, et les avoir tous sous la main à ce moment-là à Paris, c'est une opportunité extraordinaire pour que notre mouvement qui milite pour une haute qualité environnementale, c'est-à-dire pour tout ce qui va concerner et améliorer le confort dans les bâtiments résidentiels ou non résidentiels dans les années qui viennent, tous les retours d'expérience qu'on va pouvoir avoir, et pas seulement les retours d'expérience, mais aussi les interrogations sur le futur du bâtiment. Qu'est-ce que sont les tendances? On a des détecteurs de tendances. Quelles sont-elles pour les années qui viennent? Ça va être vraiment une source d'inspiration et de réflexion qui est pour nous fondamentale.
Okay, thank you very much. So it will be a very international meeting with different languages. We will talk together. And today we are very pleased to have San Francisco and Amsterdam on stage. But maybe a quick question for you. What do you expect? Sorry. Have you an idea to? With ICLEI, you have a huge network of cities, and the question is. Are you willing to see a city, especially you hear maybe newspaper, some interesting projects in other cities worldwide? So can you give us some advice of the city we should bring on the stage? We talk about Africa, we don't speak about Asia, so maybe one city for each of you you want to meet, to discuss and to exchange about common opportunity and to share experience.
I think it would be interesting to have different kind of cities at the same time at the stage. For example, this morning, Julia from Ellen MacArthur Foundation was telling us about a report. I think it will be published this Monday about India and the opportunities for the circular economy there. And that is really impressive, the numbers she was presenting this morning. I would like to hear from these kind of big cities, but also countries, what it will be their approach. But it's also interesting to look at cities, for example, Scandinavian cities, that have it already for a couple of years in their DNA and in their system, and they are really making good progress. And to see how we can learn from small cities and big cities, and how maybe we can even work together, because the circular economy doesn't stop at the borders of your city. You should look very carefully at which scale do you try to close the chain where you work in together, for example? So it's very important to have this good mix and to have a good discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. I was afraid I was going to have to, oh my God, come up with one city, and then all the other cities are going to be upset.
You can do that, Slajana. You can propose.
So I totally agree. I would really love to hear from some of the Scandinavian cities. I mean, I was thinking of Copenhagen in general because I joked about our biking in the U.S. and in San Francisco, which we think is so fabulous, but you know, other parts of the world is like, yeah, right. So I would love to know things like, I know that German cities have really great apprenticeship programs and workforce development programs, and I don't think that we've been very good at that in the U.S. We don't spend a lot of money on that, which is the reason we're in the situation we are in, where you've got people their industry is going down, and rather, whatever. So Trump is our president now, and I would love to hear from some cities who have really invested in the workforce to go with this circular economy.
Okay.
You know, and retraining people and helping people rethink what they're doing for jobs. How, you know, who's been successful doing that?
Okay, so Germany, maybe Roman, you want to give your city outside Germany?
Well, I certainly cannot say if I would have a favorite city, I would not be allowed to say that, of course. But I think that I mean it goes to the very foundation of why we have been around for 25 years. The idea that cities have a lot to learn from each other, that there's a lot to gain from basically stealing ideas also from one city to another. Because you know, why reinvent the wheel if there's already so many good practice examples out there? And that some of the biggest challenges are actually things that are more easily shared between cities and tackled in that way, and also, of course, with other partners from the industry and so on. But I think a concrete example was something that you were doing in Amsterdam, where you were to illustrate that in terms of what cities can do in terms of increasing their force or strength in numbers by pooling things like public procurement together to increase the volume there. Or in Scandinavia, we probably should stop talking about Scandinavia all the time, right? But in Scandinavia, you have a lot of these models where different smaller municipalities pool their strength in terms of financing for their own projects, in terms of waste management, in terms of PPPs that they create, just so that if you increase the number of cities into learning, you pool capacity, you pool finances, you pool intelligence, and there's a lot to gain from that. And of course, then when you bring exhibitors from events like the World Efficiency and the Polytech into the mix, when you're able to include the citizens and so on, that is when you really start working on these global questions like the Paris Agreement and the SDGs and all of these kind of things. So yeah, I hope that complemented it a little bit. And I got around this uncomfortable question of which city should be paired up with.
I will try the same question with Jens. Maybe he will give me some names, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, my issue is that I'm from Copenhagen, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, voted as #1 sustainable city. But I know a lot about Copenhagen and how green Copenhagen is. So I would like to hear from all the other ones, the one that are biting them in the heels so Copenhagen don't fall asleep, like Amsterdam on the city bikes, which I think is just as big as Copenhagen, or Vancouver, who is #3 right now and wants to be #1. Because if that doesn't happen, then Copenhagen will fall asleep. But the most interesting stories might not be from the #1, 2, and 3. It might be from the ones that have moved from number 49, like Dubai, where I've worked a lot, to number 20 in establishing themselves as a global green hub with a huge fund, with the huge solar projects. I think those that really progress, those are the interesting stories. That's it.
Okay. Et vous, Monsieur Gaëtan Fouilhouux, avec FOUILHOUX, avec le Green Bonding Council, vous avez déjà des exemples de villes qui vous ont marqué en plus particulièrement?
Alors l'association HQE, elle est née du mariage entre le secteur privé et le secteur public. Et dans notre association, on a beaucoup de collectivités locales et surtout des régions. Ah. Après, les expérimentations, elles sont impulsées quand même beaucoup par l'État à partir de schémas de développement régionaux Et c'est un ensemble de choses qui se complètent en réalité. Les expériences que j'ai vues, moi, très physiquement, extrêmement encourageantes, elles sont plutôt montées par des communautés d'agglomération, par des communautés de communes. En particulier, on en connaît beaucoup ici en région Rhône-Alpes, qui développent à la fois les transports doux, les transports en commun en particulier, et qui sont très vigilants à certifier leurs bâtiments, notamment les bâtiments tertiaires, les bâtiments publics, avec une certification haute qualité environnementale pour limiter les impacts environnementaux et pour défendre la politique bas carbone qu'elles mettent en place. Alors je ne vais pas vous donner de nom, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de communes qui sont engagées. Ce que je sais en tout cas, c'est qu'à World Efficiency Summit et avec l'association HQE et nos partenaires, j'ai déjà l'idée de quelques villes françaises qui viendront montrer très précisément leur réalisation. Mais je n'en dis pas plus parce qu'il faut faire un peu de buzz pour faire venir tout le monde.
And last but not least, Stéphanie, it's a very hard question for you, but I'm sure on the African continent you have maybe you want to maybe to introduce this topic, no? Don't you?
Yes, okay. I think that we have to be very careful in one thing. It's very important to have cities which are at the forefront of change, with experience developed in their territories, but we also need countries and cities with just projects with problems to also do of water efficiency the place where we can be helpful for them, because many cities in all the continent, have not the same funding, have not the same skills, the some resource access and the some climate. And water efficiency had the ambition to answer to all the categories, all the difference of cities in terms of size, in terms of policy, in terms of people needs, and it's crucial to also answer with the good solutions to people before policy or political ambition.
So thank you very much all. It was a short preview about what's going to happen in Paris next year, starting 17th of October until 19th of October for the first international meeting for the low economy and resource efficient economy. Thank you very much.